Everyone, thank you very much for joining this Incredibuild webinar. Welcome to all of our Incredibuilders to this next edition of Level Up with Incredibuild. This is a webinar series designed to educate our users with tips, how-tos, best practices, use cases, and other helpful content that will empower users around the world to become better Incredibuilders. Today's topic is getting to know your coordinator setting. I am Jim Shilts. You can go ahead and share your screen now, Tomer. Sorry. This was very well rehearsed, like a well-oiled machine. There we go. Let's go to the first slide that we have here, or the next slide. There we go. So I am Jim Shilts. I'm the head of community at Incredibuild. If you've not already joined our customer forum, you can go to community.incredibuild.com and just make sure you use the invite code Incredibuilders21, and that will get you in. Our speaker today is a technical manager from our customer success team, Tomer Bar David. And Tomer, would you like to say hi to everyone? Just give a quick intro about yourself.
So hi, everyone, and thanks for joining and taking the time for joining to this session. As Jim said, I'm technical customer success manager, making sure that the customers will be satisfied and utilize mostly from the product and eventually will succeed.
Cool, thank you, Tomer. And if you want to just jump to the next slide real quick, we're going to get right into things here. So Tomer's going to break this talk into a few different sections. We're going to first talk about what is the coordinator. We're going to talk about licensing and package handling, navigating the coordinator main view, agent control options, build control and assignment, updating, and then the backup coordinator. And then we're going to wrap this whole session up with some Q&A. So if you have questions, again, feel free to drop them into the Q&A section below. We'll also give everyone an opportunity to come off of mute if you prefer to ask your questions that way at the end of the presentation. So Tomer, if you want to jump into it, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Thanks a lot again for joining. And let's start. So let's start with getting to know the coordinator better a bit. What do we want to know about the coordinator? First of all, the coordinator is used as Incredibuild grid and license control console. So again, grid console and license control console, we are going to see it later a bit, but this is your eyes on the overall grid and controlling the license as well. So this is one important point on the coordinator. Used as a build manager to control Incredibuild build. So you know from being used other build managers or build tools that you are using in your day-to-day, this is the build manager from Incredibuild point of view that in managing the overall grid. So this is one of the main things, or one of the main roles of the coordinator. One more thing is important to say, it's responsible for the agent allocation. So all the agents that are being part of the grid and their allocation is managed by the coordinator. This is a very important role. Can be installed with an agent or solely, so it can be installed as a standalone basically, or it can install with an agent, a helper, initiator, depend how you want. As a best practice for production, usually you want to have it separated as a standalone, just a coordinator and a backup coordinator, which we're going to talk later. So this is about the deployment of the installation. One thing that important to say, the version needs to be aligned across the board, meaning all the components that are being installed via the coordinator should be on the same version. It's very important, so we don't mix and match between versions. Okay, let's talk about the role in the build, the role of the coordinator within the build. So as I said before, one of the main roles is the allocation of the available helpers to the initiator. And this is something that you need to remember. The overall allocation, the brain of the grid is basically the coordinator. Once the resources are allocated and the build starts, the coordinator is no longer play the role in the build. Okay, so imagine that the coordinator is coordinating and allocating the resources. The build starts by itself. It starts by the initiator, and at that moment the coordinator is is still there, of course. It's not shutting down or something, but it's not longer part of the build. Why? Because the initiators are working towards the helpers, the agent by themselves, and unless there is a need for special resources or any additional resources, the coordinator is doing what he's doing, is allocating, is there if there is any planning needed or anything like this. The coordinator is always aware of the agent and their states. So the coordinator at every moment and every given moment knows exactly each agent and its status. He knows exactly if it's up or down, the version, its version. So it's something very important to say. And if the coordinator is offline, it's not affecting the overall running of the build. Okay. Of course, there is also a backup coordinator. So there is a primary coordinator, a secondary coordinator. But in general, once the build starts, the build is starting and running, and the whole session is between the initiators and the helpers. Okay, so this is something that needs to be bear in mind. Let's talk about license and the package handling. Okay, so this is one of the important role of the coordinator, the licensing and the packaging. As a license manager, basically we can load and unload the license, and this is going to be validated within our license server. So as you can see in the picture here, there is an option to load and unload. Why we need the unload? The load is for loading the license key or the license file. And the unload is because if you are moving to another machine or you have a new license with a new machine, you want to be able to unload it first of all, make sure it's not there to clean it, and then load it in another machine. One thing is important to say is that we are doing validation, meaning there is a one-time authorization between our coordinator to our license, between the customer coordinator on-prem to the license server within Incredibuild premises. Why it's important? Because the connection should be open, okay? Because there is this authorization, it's one time, you load the file, it's being authorized, and from that moment, you don't need any more this connection unless there is something new license, new machine, anything like this. Now, we have also an option for an offline license in case your network is restricted and you cannot, and the coordinator cannot connect outside. There is also an option for offline license. A recommendation is using the online license, but there are some restrictions and some things that are not allowing to be to open towards the internet, public network, and this is why we have the offline license. The license can be installed on only one coordinator at a time. This is very important to say. You cannot take this license and install it on two coordinators at the same time. It will not work. This is why you have the unload and the load. You can install it either on this coordinator or either that coordinator, one coordinator at a time. Okay, I'm moving on. Let's talk about packaging a bit. So we spoke about licensing, and now let's talk about packaging. This is a very important role of the coordinator, the packaging, the management of the packaging, and the allocation of the packaging by itself. If you choose auto subscribe, you can see on the left there is on the coordinator settings. There is an option to tick on to opt in the automatically subscribe new agent. Once you tick it on and it's chosen, there is an auto subscription to license package when agent is installed. So imagine that we install more and more agents, okay, deploy them, install them, whatever. The packages are going automatically, the license packages that are allowed are deployed automatically from the coordinator towards the agents. And this is something that's done automatically as long as it's ticked on. I'm recommending to tick it on and to keep it like this. And in that case, all the packages are there. Once the packages are there, if you see on the right side, the picture, you can see that you can manually basically assign, allocate or deallocate and configure the packages per agent. So imagine that specific agent would like to get specific packages. I don't want to give what I give to developer. Maybe I don't want to give to CI, or maybe to specific group of agents. I want to give specific packages because they are using Unreal. and the other are not using Unreal. So I have this option to allocate. Also, of course, it's a matter of licensing and quantity and quota. This is why it's important sometimes to have this allocation. Bulk operation can be done as well. So you can do it. You can allocate or deallocate or configure the packages either manually for specific agents, or it can be in a bulk operation in case you want to do it for more than one agent. You can see on the picture here all the packages that are available in a very nice way. This is in the UI of the coordinator. Okay, we move on to the monitor main view. Okay, so this is the coordinator monitor main view. As you can see, we have a list of all the agents. So each line here is basically describe the agent list. So, or every agent that is agent can be initiator or helper. When I say agent, it's important to mention. And you can do actions basically from the UI on this list. You can do, as I said, a bulk operation, a separate operation. You can configure, everything is done from here. It's a one view to control the whole grid and the whole agents within the grid. You see at the bottom that you have on the upper side, you see that you have on-prem, and on the bottom side, you see that you have cloud view. So this is demarcating because when you register to our Incredibuild cloud solution, it's showing you basically the status of the VMs or the machines or the helpers in the cloud. So it's kind of demarcating. Eventually, it's showing the whole thing, but eventually it's demarcating as well between the on-prem resources to the cloud resources. And it's giving a very nice view that you can monitor and see what is going on with your agents. Also, you can update and roll back. Let's see it here, nice animation. So you can update and roll back your version. And one important thing to say is whatever you do, update, roll back, all the update or uninstall, everything usually done from the coordinator, and this is automatically pushed to the agents themselves. So when you update the coordinator, and the coordinator as a central unit is deploying by pushing the software to the agent themselves. So you don't need to go to each agent and do it. It's done automatically. Also rollback to the previous version. One important feature is the network connectivity test. Network connectivity test, very, very useful feature. And I'm recommending to all my customers sometimes to use it. First of all, use it when you have network issues, when you go to the system graph, or you start to see some latency, or you start to see long tasks in your build monitor. You should suspicious, maybe one of the things that you should suspicious with the network issues, network bottlenecks. This is something that is common. It can happen due to many reasons. It can be to some lags or some latency within the switches in the LAN. It can happen because of a network cards NICs, which are older NICs, like a 100 megabyte or even 10 megabyte. I even saw that on customer premises sometimes. And this network connectivity test is a very nice feature because it's giving you ability to test the connectivity from the initiator towards your agent helpers. And it's giving you a very nice holistic view of the current status of the network. And you can easily see if you have a poor network connectivity or you have an excellent network connectivity, and you can see your agents and their connectivity towards the initiator. It's giving a very nice view and understanding if you have some issues. If you see sometimes that specific agents are lagging behind, this is the first place that you should look, or one of the first places that you should look on the connectivity. Moving on, this is a very nice feature. You can, from the coordinator main view, you can export everything that you see on the right side on the agent list. You can very nicely export it into a file. I recommend to do it because if you have a lot of agents, sometimes it's very hard to see it in the UI, or you want to do some parsing analysis, you can export it. It's exporting it to a text file or CSV. There is also command line that's called XG Coordinator Console. I will send it later in the presentation, which helps you to do it from a command line. You can export it to XML, to text file, to CSV. Very easy to export, and it's giving you a very nice analysis on the grid state. Because imagine that you see here all the information on this monitor, but then you sometimes want to export it a few times in a day, maybe. You want to parse it, you want to analyze it. So this is an important feature. Let's talk about the main view. So in the main view of the coordinator, you have, as I said, you can see in real time all the different columns to choose. You can see all the different columns of the coordinator, like the status, availability, CPU, memory, cache size, things that are changing and reflected in real time. And there is a nice feature. You can do view and you can see a nice report, as you can see here. A very nice report that shows you a status report that basically collecting all the information in one place instead of the columns. I think it's very nice. It's a very nice view. And also you have at the bottom, if you look on the white yellow arrow, you have a brief status left at the bottom, like who is the primary coordinator, who is the backup coordinator, and how many agents, how many subscribes. It's a brief thing, but it's also give you some important information. Let's talk about control options. What do we have? So as I said, you can choose bulk or individual. You can do basically perform bulk or individual operations on any agent. All you have to do is right click on the agent name and you have this nice menu. You can, for example, change the cache. Okay, you can clear it, you can change it. I'm giving you some small view, some taste on some of the features that can be applied for specific agents. You can change the logging level, the verbosity, basically, if you want from here. And one important feature to you as an admin or as whoever is more using the coordinator is the allow enable disable as a helper. This is very important. This is the blue one, the one that is marked in blue. Why it's important? Because if I don't choose this option, it means that developers or anyone is using his computer as a helper can disable himself and take out himself from the grid and from the build itself. Now, we as an admin or as a customers want to maximum utilize our grid and making sure that we are making the most of it. Hence, in this option, you can prevent from the user to be able to disable himself from the grid. And this is, of course, a decision of the admin, but I think it's important, and this is giving the ability to control and making sure that everyone will participate in the build itself and taking part in the resources. Okay, moving on to one important things of the coordinator, priority. We are in build controls and assignments, and why this is important? Because we have an option from the coordinator to control the priority of a few things in the grid itself. So we have 3 priorities basically, and this is something that the coordinator is taking care. We have build priority of the initiator. So I can define as a coordinator how much important is the initiator and give it priority. Okay, given I'm looking on the overall grid and I want to give specific priority, higher or lower priority to specific initiator, and I can do the same also on helpers. So I can define how important is the helper and force it to be more. So it's kind of forcing the helper to be used more in terms of priority, to give higher priority when there is a build. The helpers that will signed as a higher priority will definitely always try to go first and be part of the build. And remote task priority. This is something that also can be used. The default is idle. The idea is to give priority to the distributed task on the helper itself. So imagine that the task is arriving to the helper itself, and now this is giving the priority to the task itself or to the tasks. The default is idle because when the core or the CPU is idle, we are taking part. We don't want to interfere. We don't want to do anything impact on the overall performance on the machine. Remember, helper machines sometimes can be your desktop or anyone else's machine. So we are default, we are using idle, but it can be changed. If the helper is solely for a building and nothing else, this can be changed and giving higher priority. It can help to boost the performance of the build. Moving on, assignment logic. This is very important. So this is the assignment logic, this setting on the coordinator setting. This is giving the ability for the coordinator to decide on the assignment logic of the coordinator. So this is how the coordinator understand and decide if this agent will participate or not participate. Basically, if this helper will participate or not participate in the build. Okay. Now the default, those are the default 30. There are first of all 3 categories: CPU, disk, and memory. Usually we look more on the CPU. As you can see, 30%. If there is 30%, it means that I can assign it as a helper, and if not, so it's not going to be chosen as a helper because we don't want to interfere. If the machine is so busy, there is no point to use it. There is no point to use it for helper. It's only going to make maybe some damage or not a good overall experience for the build. So this is the logic for the coordinator to choose the helper. One more thing is important to mention, that there is a parameter that called in the build options. Everything that I'm saying here, by the way, is in the coordinator settings, just to make sure that you're aligned with me. This is limiting the maximum core usage per build. This is a number, a magic number, 150. And this number has been chosen because, per testing that has been done, per best practice from other customers, but it's not a number that cannot be changed, okay? So first of all, what is it, this number? This number means this is the maximum core I can run per build and in order to avoid the load. And why I suggest to look into this number in a safely manner. First of all, this number can be increased even to 400 if needed, but with testing. But why I'm suggesting, why I'm showing you this parameter and what's in it for you here is that imagine that you have a grid and you have more resources. You have, I don't know, 400 cores, for example, okay? And you want to reach to more. If you keep this parameter, you will never use your grid completely. You will stay on the 150. Now, how do you see it? When you see the graph, the system graph in the build itself, you always see the number. You will see the number, assuming that your build can reach to more parallel tasks than 150. You will see all the time this magic number, 150, 150, 150. And then you realize, oh, we remember that Tomer told us that 150 is some settings in the system that can be changed, of course, in a careful manner, but can be changed with extra cautious, and you can increase it. And then suddenly you start to see that you can build more. Okay, so remember 150, you will see it in the system graph or in the build itself, in the build monitor, and you ask yourself why. This is the reason why. And this is a try and error. So you should test it carefully and see if it's working for you better. This is an important build group. So this is a very nice feature. Many customers are using it already, and I suggest to look into it if it's something that interesting you as well. Build group, simple as that. It's a separation or segregation, I will say, between agents. So imagine that you build a group with specific agents. I'm initiator, I have some helpers, and we are overall building it as a whole group. And this is kind of a segregated or separated group that can work as a standalone. Why it's important? Imagine that you have a spatial team that wants to use its own resources. This is one option. Or maybe a spatial team that wants to use specific hardware. For example, I have special, I don't know, GPU machines. I have special SSD machines, i9 machines that I want them to be used only for the CI. So for the CI, I will build another separate build group. And for developers, I will build another group, okay? Of course, I can create a delete. I can assign a specific group. This is important to say. What else we have? So in the enterprise version that we have an option to define it with REST API. So there is the manual option, as I showed you before, that you build the groups. And there is a nice option in the enterprise version, which I highly recommend, to use the REST API. We have a very nice REST API, POST API, and GET API. Very simple, very well documented. And you can, with this REST API, create very dynamically easy, create, delete, add, whatever. You can control the build groups from an API. Very strong feature, very strong feature, and can be defined as you see from the console. There is a way to you have to open the port. Of course, you need an enterprise license. You need to enable the option to use the port because it's the REST API port. And from that moment, you can use it. And there are many use cases for the REST API to be used. Sometimes you want to have more dynamic control on the build groups. Network. So this is important to say about network. I'm not going to go into every port and every setting, but I'm going to highlight you some important things about networking in Incredibuild, especially in the way the coordinator is working. First of all, communication is compressed by default. We are compressing the communication to make it more efficient. Obviously there is a lot of communication going on between the agent, between the coordinator, especially between the agents. So it's already compressed by default, and it can be encrypted. Usually we use the encryption, so there is an option for encryption. We use the encryption for cloud for security reason. We are supporting TLS 1.2. It can be used also without the cloud, but there should be some kind of a small degradation, or might be some slowness of 2 to 3% performance. So use it if you need it. If not, it's mainly for the cloud, but of course can be used otherwise. And last but not least, version update by the coordinator. I said before, coordinator can push the version to the agents and just the newer subscribe ones. That's it. I'm done.
Tomer, thank you very much. Thank you for that overview on the coordinator. I have a handful of questions here, but I want to let everyone else know if you have questions, drop them into the Q&A, or you can click on the raise hand button, and then we can ask you to come off of mute. You can ask your question that way. So why don't we just start with the ones that we have here, Tomer? The first one, can we select groups with logic? For example, could we select by CI/CD machine and has X GPU?
Okay, so yes, we can select. Okay, as long as we know what machines, what agents, I will say, I'm calling it machines, but eventually machine equal to agent. So we can select, assuming that you know explicitly what agents have the specific hardware. You can select them into one group. But one thing I want to say, you cannot do nested, or you cannot declare, in this version at least, in the one that we have now, you cannot declare one agent that will participate in few groups. So you have to know explicitly which group you have. It's a specific spatial hardware. You can define it, and that's it from that moment. Or another option, you can use the REST API to dynamically change it. This can be done. I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, thank you for the question there as well. The next one, when loading a license, there is authentication that points Incredibuild license server over to the Incredibuild license server over public connection. What happens if our coordinator is behind a restricted or private network with no ability to connect to an external network?
Okay, so there is an offline license which can be used. There are two options. One is that you authenticate only one time and then you close the connection. It's an option, okay? Because you don't need the connection anymore unless you use it for telemetry or for other things, which is important as well. Or you're asking for an offline license from your CSM, and we are providing you an offline license, offline.
Okay, I have one more here. And again, if anyone else has questions, drop them into the chat while we are responding to this one, or not the chat, but the Q&A section, or click on the raise hand button and we'll take you off of mute. But this question is, I noticed from the system graph of build monitor that we have network bottlenecks or issues, and hence I performed the network connectivity test. But I would like to run a test that, I would like to run that test for a while and be able to compare it over time.
Okay, okay. So this one is interesting. First of all, yes, I recommend to use the network connectivity test, but I'm always recommending to take a neutral tool. It can be, for example, Hyper-free. There are many tools in the market. I'm not promoting any specific tool, but Hyper is a good tool. It's a good tool because it's testing client server and it can test initiator towards a helper. You can test connectivity and you can run it over time, get very nice graph and understanding what is going on. And you can even compare it to the network connectivity test that we are doing. This is what I'm suggesting.
Perfect. All right, let me see. I don't see any more questions in the chat. Just checking the Q&A again.
Jim, we have a raised hand from Liz.
Ah. Sorry, or from Mary?
Sorry, Mary, yeah.
There you go, Mary. You can take yourself off of mute and ask your question.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we got you.
Okay. Okay. So there's a couple of things I'm interested in the coordinator. I know that from the coordinator, I cannot actually get build data from the agents, meaning that I cannot see their build history. Is there a way around that, or there's something else I can do to pull that information?
Okay. Okay. So first, okay, from the coordinator you cannot, but you can see it from the tray. I mean, if you go to the build history, you can see there per agent, per initiator, basically.
But only on their desktop, right? I can't, like, without going to their desktop, I have no way of retrieving that information.
Correct.
Okay. Second question is that, is there another way, a backdoor method, I don't know, to actually figure out the frequency of the initiator, how long the build, how often the initiator initiate a build?
You mean how long it took?
No. I want to know if the agent is initiating builds frequently. If they're like, so I'm interested. So I have an X number of agents. I want to know when I'm in a bind, I want to be able to reallocate it to agents that are going to be building frequently versus, you know, people who only builds like once a month. Is there some way to pull that data off? To figure out?
I can think about something. Approach me offline, and I can think about something. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
There might be a way. I have something in mind. Okay. There might be a way. Yes.
The reason why I'm asking is because right now I'm tied. My hands are tied. I have X number of agents. I have 135 agents. Unfortunately, by looking at the list of agents, I cannot figure out who is actually building frequently and who is infrequent. Infrequent meaning that a user that builds once a month. So if I have somebody new starting, I want to give that license away, the agent away to the new person, because I know that new person needs to build to kind of get his work, he or her work going. I prefer to do that until at least my new license with more agents come into play. But right now my hands is tied because I have a fixed number of agents for that license.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking on something. Do you have enterprise license or normal license?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think I have a normal license. I had to go and take a look again. Sorry, okay. I don't remember. Yeah.
For which customer you are? I'm sorry. Just to know.
We were called Vigilon before. We are not. I think we're. Yeah. I think the license is. It's got a funny name. I think it's a Vigilon Corporation.
Okay. 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 let's communicate offline and let's see how can I help you with this. I might have some creative idea for you.
Fantastic, Tomer. Really appreciate it.
No problem.
I am fascinated by the coordinator limit that you talked about, referring to the fact that the 150 cores limit. How I know that you talked about trial and error to figure out how you can actually might possibly increase it and get some benefits.
Yeah.
So right now I have several problems. I have one problem is that I have a coordinator that's currently in one site while I have a few agents that is in the US. And the question is, I think I asked this in the tech support team, is that when is a good time to actually say, look, I need a new license with, a new coordinator set up in in the US in a particular site for this to be viable. Is there best practice minimum number? Does it depend on how frequently they build, initiate a build? I don't see them as helpers if we're in Vancouver, BC, in the West Coast, and I have a helper out in, say, Boston. How could that helper be helpful? I don't know that they will be.
Okay. So I'm trying to understand. You're talking about like to understand when you should add more coordinator, like what's the best
Correct.
practice? Okay. Okay. So I will tell you something that is important, and this is and again we can take it offline, but we still have time, so it's important for me to tell you. Incredibuild is relying quite heavily on network. Okay, network is something that is very important because all the artifacts and all the input files and output files, everything is passed between the initiator to the helpers. Of course, there is a cache on the helpers, but still, if it's not cached, it's asking for more artifacts and more files and more things, and there is a lot of headers that are going forward and back and forth and so on. Now, it's important to say that it's better if it's possible, as much as possible, to keep within the same line, because you spoke about sites, right?
Yes.
Yeah? It's important to keep, if possible. I'm not saying, I don't know yet your use case, and I will be happy to discuss about your use case in more detail, then we can drill down into it. But in general, it's a best practice. You put a coordinator per site, and everyone are connecting to the site, unless you have a very good connection and it's working without any issue. And then even then you need to test that latency. You need to take a tool like Hyper for any other tool, or even the network connectivity, and first of all test the connectivity to make sure it's efficient. Because if you put in Vancouver an helper, but in, I don't know, in somewhere in US or in Canada, you have the coordinator or the initiator and the helper that are in different sites, it can be an issue. It can be an issue because there might be latency and there might be connectivity issues. So this is kind of where to locate the coordinator and where to put it. On the other end, coordinator is not the main traffic that are happening in a typical build. It's not coming from the coordinator, right? The coordinator is the brain and in the logic how to choose. But once it's done, it's kind of offline. So it really depends on your network. It depends on that. In terms of limits for, I don't know how many agents you have.
135. 135.
One coordinator can take it easily. I don't see any reason. Again, I'm telling you just because of capacity. I'm not talking about yet about other factors, sites and connectivity. I don't know all the details now, but I can tell you that in terms of capacity, 100. It's not 100 something. It's not a big number. Okay, that's what I want to say. For one coordinator, I mean. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Mary, for all of that.
Thanks.
We have another question from Sav in the Q&A as well. The agent view and coordinator sometimes has an icon in front, example, a warning sign that is yellow or an X that is red. Can you please explain what those are for and how we can get more info about why that is showing up?
Again, on the agent, let me. Where exactly? Tell me again.
in the agent view in Coordinator.
Okay. Let's do this.
And Sav, I've allowed you to talk as well. So if you
Yeah, I'm just open it so we can look together.
Yeah, it's an icon in front of that, like where the icon is that the agent is disabled.
This icon,
I don't know if
this icon.
no, it's one in front. I don't know if I can I share the screen for a sec, maybe? Or maybe a screenshot I can paste somewhere.
let me see. Yeah, I don't think I can give you sharing abilities in a webinar like this.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have a screenshot or something that you can.
Yeah, if you can send a screenshot right now, we can look on it together.
Sure. Mind posting your email in the chat so I can send it there?
Yeah, here. I'll drop mine.
Yeah, send it to Jim.
We have another question from Samrat as well, and we'll get to that one as soon as we're done here. Thank you for all the interactivity here, everybody. This was perfect.
Yeah. I love questions, so go ahead.
Let me know when you've sent it.
I guess you mean icon here, somewhere here, right?
No, it's at the very front. Just one sec.
Okay, I will wait for the Jim. You will paste it in the chat.
Yeah, I'll once I get the screenshot, then I can share it. I can share my screen.
Sure, sure.
And while we're waiting for that, we can do some routes here so we don't have so much dead time. But so he asks, hello, I'm interested in knowing the solution to gather info on which agent is building frequently and which agents are not. Please let me know if this is possible to loop me in for that.
Yeah, so in the enterprise version, you have a dashboard. In case he has this license, there is a dashboard to see the utilization per agent. Other than this, it's just to go to the build monitors and look for this specific agent and to see. But in the enterprise, you can see it in a better view. There is a dashboard, and you can see the utilization per agent.
Okay, thank you for that, Samrat. And I have the screenshot here, so I'm going to share this one. So this is going to stop your screen sharing, so I can share. Right. So this is what it's talking about.
Ah, okay, okay. So this, okay. So this, I don't have all the I see only the exclamation mark. Usually it's because of, for example, incompatible version. In case the version in the agent is not updated with the agent with the version in the coordinator itself. This is one thing. Another thing might be, again, I need to see the whole thing. I don't know if you can send me because you sent me only this, but look if you see incompatible version, or there might be, it might be because of the log verbosity. Okay.
It might be the log verbosity. I'll check that.
Yes, I'm correct.
Let me see just a sec.
Okay.
Yeah, he was going to check it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess the yellow one, it's because it's recommending larger cache size. But I'm not sure about the red one. There's no any more details about that.
What you mean? This one, the red one, the one with
the one at the bottom, yeah.
Again, I need to see because it's not only the icon, it's like the overall thing. It's written. It can be cache. It can be log. It can be some disconnection. Okay, although disconnection is the line. It can be the verbosity I said. What else it can be? And and I think that's it. Log verbosity, a compatible version, an incompatible version. But it will be good to see the whole thing so I can tell you exactly what is it.
Yeah, I'll double check, and if I'm not able to find it, I'll reach out to you guys.
Yeah. You can even drop me. You can even drop an email, and send a screen capture, and I can help you. No problem at all.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Sav.
We have a
Uh,
suggestion here, sorry, from Willem, the chat. And Willem is saying you can hover your mouse over those icons to get a tooltip that tells you what they are, right?
Yes. This is what I meant. It's either to see the whole thing or tooltip, but I need to see the whole thing, and then I can tell you exactly there is a tooltip also, and also there is a message on the screen itself. If you take the full picture, full screen capture, you can see the text, what is written there.
All right, another question from Mary here. And Mary, you're still able to come off of mute too, if you'd like, but which Incredibuild product should I use for Azure DevOps environment on Windows?
Okay. Azure DevOps. Okay, so you can use the Windows version that we have, okay, for the Azure DevOps, and it's like any other. If you're talking about, okay, Azure DevOps is a platform, okay. So if you're talking about the CI from the CI perspective, Mary.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
it is.
Okay, good. So from the CI is same as you use with Jenkins or with TeamCity or with any other pipeline or any other build CI tool. And if you need further information, I can help you. But in general, we have a few options. I don't know if there is a special plugin, but for sure, it's not a problem to tailor in to Azure DevOps. The only thing that you need is some hooks, and running our command line, our CLI build console command to run it from the build pipeline itself. So when you put the command and you run it from the build itself, it will work as it's working with any other tool, and no issue. So as long as you know how to run it command line separately, you tailor it, you put it inside your build pipeline, and it's going to run. What you're using, you have Visual Studio. What builds you have?
Visual Studio.
Okay, so MS Build, for example, okay, it can be MS Build. I guess this is what you're using, right? MS Build?
Yes.
Okay, so yes, you can run it to run MS Build from the CLI itself, and if you need further information, I can help. But
Thank
yes,
you very much.
no problem at all.
So by the way, just to let you know that we just have a regular license. We don't have an enterprise license. And I think one of the questions that Sarant have asked is exactly what I'm looking for. Is the fact that the frequency of agents and which agents are not building frequently as initiating the build, not as a helper standpoint, but as a initiator. So you suggested the enterprise version would actually provide some of that information.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Some of it, they are very nice. There is a very nice dashboard and graphs. And by the way, we are going to also implement it in version 10, but this is another discussion. With the upcoming version 10, there will be some very nice dashboard capabilities and some other insights. This is basically insights capabilities to look for what you need. And yes, this is, I hope it's answering your question.
Thank you. With some, just one quick question. Would the insights also be possible to actually, without actually, say, RDP into the agent, to actually get some of the build, monitoring the build history from the agent possibly, or not?
RDP you can do, yeah. RDP you can do even now.
No, but if I cannot, for some reason, if I cannot RDP into the agent,
Okay.
yes. How is there another way that I can retrieve some of that information?
Okay.
I think I asked that question before too. Yeah.
Okay. So as I said, I need to look if you don't have enterprise, assuming that you don't have enterprise
We
license.
don't.
Okay, so this is something that I need to check and come back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Because right now, you're right. Right now, the only option is to do RDP and collect the information, because every initiator has its own build monitor, and we don't have insights if you don't have the enterprise. But let me think about something, and we can talk offline and see
Thank you.
what can be done.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
All right, we have another question in the chat here from Samrat. What are the best Azure VMs family for computational acceleration to have with Incredibuild Cloud, like Unreal building?
Okay. So we have a list. I can share it. I don't have it in front of me now. I can share after the session. So you're using our cloud solution?
I don't think
Not yet.
Samrat, let
Not
me allow to talk. There we go.
Hello, thank
Hey,
you.
Samrat. Hey, how are you?
Good. So we are not using it right now, and we might use in future. And I know there are 4 families listed on the documentation for Incredibuild Cloud.
Mhm.
But out of those 4, I really wanted to know like which one is the best for us. For now, we are thinking like FSV2 version will be best for us because it gives more power on core, and we can change core whenever we need and whenever we don't. But yeah, I wanted to. I know it's not related to coordinator, but just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah. Okay, so it's a more a cloud question, right? It's not a,
Yeah.
exactly. So you're looking to know which kind of a type or which kind of a flavor of a VM is highly recommended by us to be used, right? As an agent.
I know there are 4 family from Azure that are listed on the site. I wanted to know more into details, like which is the best out of those 4. For now, we are thinking FSV2.
Okay. So I can send you this. I can tell you after the session. I don't have it in front of me, but yes, I can tell you which is the most recommended. No problem at all.
Okay. No problem. Thank you.
Sure.
Well, I'm going to drop a link in the chat here as well to the forum where we have the event page for this webinar, where we can continue this discussion there as well. So any of the other things that we're looking up here, Tomer, we can put some answers in there too, just so it's all in one spot so everybody can see. Let me make sure I got the right link, and I'll drop it in here for everybody right now.
You want me to share the screen, or you're sharing?
No, I'm sharing a link in the chat.
Okay.
Here, I think that pasted a bunch of times. Let me try one more time. There's the link below. You should be able to click on that one.
You want me to open it as well?
Sure, you can open it and share it just to show. If you haven't been to the forum yet, we've got a couple hundred other Incredibuilders in the forum, communicating, asking questions, sharing things with each other. A lot of great exclusive content that's there too.
Okay. Do you see my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Yeah. Now?
There it is. Yeah, so there's the thread for this event, and we can just continue the conversation below below all of this too. And we'll also, once we edit the recording, we'll put the recording up here too for everybody if you want to go back and watch any part of it. All right, I don't see any more questions, and we're just a couple of minutes away from the end of our time here. If anyone wants to ask a last minute question, we'll pause for about 10 seconds here. You can raise your hand, or if you can type really, really fast, I'll watch the chat and the Q&A. I do want to thank everybody for all of the questions and interactivity here. Very good session.
Thanks a lot for joining, all of you.
All right, I don't see any more. I don't see any hands. Take one more look. Okay, cool. So we are at the end of our time. And so I do want to thank everyone for attending. Our next Level Up with Incredibuild webinar will be in January. So if you do have a request for something you'd like for us to cover, please let me know. You can always find me in the forum, and then I've dropped my email into the chat as well. It's jim.shilts@incredibuild.com. Thank you again, Tomer, for covering all of this with us. And thank you to all of our Incredibuilders who tuned in and asked questions. And we'll see all of you on the next one.